we go. All right, learning, guys. I'm just gonna leave this view on because it's screwing me up otherwise. Let's see. So is Ashley on yet?
Ashley is on.
Okay, Ashley, will you please take it away and introduce our guests and visitors?
Yeah. I don't know if there are any other than our speaker.
I think Hayden's on.
Hayden, okay. I wasn't sure. Hayden, if you are there, could you introduce yourself, say your name and where you're from, and tell us your favorite part of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I'm Hayden Beach. I'm from Dakota, Minnesota. I'm the assistant general manager at Best Western Plus at La Crescent Area Event Center with Madeline. And I guess my favorite part of Thanksgiving is definitely just being around family. Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any visiting Rotarians? I don't think anybody is
Yeah,
on.
I don't see anyone else.
All right. To give you guys an update on our membership, we are currently at 60 active members. Unfortunately, we do have some Rotarians that are leaving us. Justin Peterson, Paul LeCount, and Nathan Sautel have all given their resignations. We're hopeful that a couple of those at least will rejoin us when we're able to meet in person. But for now, we are sitting at 60 members, which we started the year at 58. So we're still in the positive. I encourage you all to invite people to come and join our club and join our efforts. And appreciate all of you guys for being here. I am going to ask Josh to take it away from here. Josh, do you want me to play the video or do you want to give your spiel first?
Let me give a little bit of a spiel. So,
okay.
As you guys know, it's Foundation Month. So you've heard Marissa and I talk a little bit about Foundation in the past. You know, this is a really special time of the year, right? It's a time that we give thanks. It's a time for celebration. And there's still a lot of good to be done in the world, even with COVID. You know, we saw disaster response grants earlier this year, which were funded through our foundation. You know, we've got projects coming up. We're going to have Shark Tank in the spring. We've got a mobile clinic project coming up that will have more information. I mean, our foundation does a lot of good things. So we're also working to reinvigorate and kind of bring back our club foundation committee. So I'm going to be chairing that. I'm going to be looking for a vice chair and then also looking for some members. So I'll be sending out some emails and doing some reach outs. So hopefully you guys are excited, and hopefully a few of you will be willing to put up with me long enough to be on the foundation committee for a bit. We'd like to show a quick video rather than kind of listening to me speak all day. So Marissa, if you can play that video.
Yeah, let's hope it works. All right. If you guys can't hear, please let me know. Just holler.
So yeah, I mean, a short video. As you can see, Rotary does a lot of different things for a lot of different people and a lot of different groups. So if you have a passion about doing good somewhere in the world, whether it's here in our community, abroad, right? I think, the work that Amy and the group have been doing around the good fight has been excellent. And that's using funds from our district foundation as well. So are there any questions? I know we also, we've had those matches and we're really hoping, even a little bit, even a few dollars per quarter, makes a difference for our club. So we're trying to, as Marissa has shared, we're trying to get to $10,000 for our 10th anniversary. So we can do some good in the world. So are there any questions or anything I can answer around Foundation Month? All right, Marissa, anything else?
I do want to give an update on the $10,000 for After Hours 10th birthday. I wanted to give a special thank you to all those that increased or initiated monthly giving. That includes Elise, Liz Evans, Jennifer, Shane Stewart, Ashley, Madeline, Ben Eddington, Emily Nolte, and a special thank you to Jeremy Moritz, who offered that challenge match with me as well. As of December 1st, I have officially increased my monthly giving by $72 a month, and that would equal $500 for the year. So thank you to all of you. With Jeremy's and my matches and all of those that increased or initiated their giving, we raised an additional $1,800 plus to our foundation giving. So pretty incredible. And thank you to all of you who do contribute to the foundation, whether it's $25 a year, whether it's $100 or more. Just know that your gifts are changing the world. So it is Thanksgiving week, and I think we can all agree that it's been a really challenging year for everyone, and Thanksgiving most likely will look different for a lot of us, but we still have a lot to be grateful for. For me, I am thankful for all of you who are here as Rotarians and the positive impact that you make in our community. More importantly, I'm really thankful for all of you for being my friends. So sometime throughout this meeting, if you want to just share in the chat 1 or 2 words on what you're grateful for, we're going to compile those all at the end into a word cloud and show everything that we're grateful for. So throw those words in chat and let's see what comes up. And in the spirit of gratefulness, I would like to recognize Brandon Harris as our November Rotarian of the Month. As our most current past president of After Hours, Brandon continues to represent and serve Rotary both in our club and in our community. He has been instrumental the past several months, creating our new and improved ugly sweater poles to hang lights from. Long are the days of us climbing up ladders and fearing for our lives, thanks to him. He's built the storage boxes and is devising the plan for the course setup and takedown. No small job. Brandon has been instrumental and a huge help to me personally in successfully executing our hybrid meetings, offering his technology expertise to get equipment set up for all of us to be able to stay engaged. Outside of After Hours, Brandon continues to lead as the president of Rotary Works Foundation. Brandon, thank you for your leadership, thank you for your service, and thank you for your friendship. Please congratulate Brandon Harris as our November Rotarian of the Month.
Thanks, Marissa. That means a lot. I hope the changes that we are doing with Ugly Sweater will pay off and make it a better event for all the volunteers. And then so we can continue to get people out there and participate in that event. So thanks for all that you do. And thanks thanks to whoever nominated me for that.
Brandon, I have your Rotarian of the Month pin, so when I see you in the next couple of weeks, I'll make sure to give that to you.
I gotta say, Marissa, real quick, I gotta say, what I signed up for the Ugly Sweater 5K for Jackie and I to run the slowest run ever. And it was the coolest experience I've ever had signing up for a volunteer thing. I don't know if we created that site. I don't know if that was out of a box from this company or whatever, but it was by far, I mean, I got to the end and I actually called Jackie in here because there was a swag page where I could have bought like mugs and hats and gloves. I just thought it was so well done. So bravo to whoever or however that was put together. It's probably been in place for 3 years. I was only a volunteer and never signed up to be a runner, but that was pretty darn cool. So well done.
That's great feedback, Bill.
Yeah.
And the committee is just doing an outstanding job. Ashley, I don't know if you want to give accolades to whoever came up with that, but please, if you see one of the committee members, tell them thanks for all their work, because there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to pull off this event and allow us to raise money to give back to the community and the world in general.
Bill, thanks for sharing. That's actually a new site and it was free, other than they take some money for the credit card changes, but I set it up and I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm glad to hear that from your side, it was good, because I did it a few times myself, but you never know from other people's perspective. So
it really is really well done. Well done. Well
Bill,
done.
did you buy one of each swag?
No, but I mean, I did buy 2 shirts. So I let's put it this way: after my and even a chance to say I want to give more. I mean, my total bill was $133 for 2 people to run a race. So I mean, it was because you went, it's the spirit of giving. I go give an extra $50 here. The next page, like, oh, and I can buy some more shirts. Okay, I'll buy some else. Oh, I can get gloves. How cool is this? I just kept going. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Well, if you haven't seen the Facebook post yet, we'll be doing a grand reveal of the t-shirts, and I love them. So I'm super excited about it. So good purchase. I've asked Josh to give a recap of some of the recent board activities, real high level, because we don't have all day. So Josh, take it away and giving your best board recap, please.
All right, so we've had 2 new members join the board due to some transitions and stepaways. So Emily has stepped up to join the board. Mike Ritzmacher had to take a step back, and then Caitlin has joined the board as well because Dustin had to take a step back. If you guys haven't seen, he's taken on some new responsibilities at work. As Marissa mentioned, and we talked about a little bit earlier, we're doing some foundation committee updates. So some good stuff coming with future projects. So more to come on that. Strategic plan update. So I know Marissa and I met this morning on foundation. We've been meeting with membership. We've been meeting with all the different committees here over the last 2 months, talking about opportunities and strategic plans and succession and things like that. So we've been having really good conversations and excited for what's to come based on all the work the committees are doing. And then for those of you who are involved in our strategic planning process early last spring, we're excited to bring that back. So more to come kind of in the format that'll be shared, but it's definitely not been lost. It's been something that Marissa and I and the board have been working on diligently here over time. We're just making sure we have plenty of information, and we want to get good updates back to you guys so that we can all continue to do the good things we do. There was a new member grant because we got so many new members in 2019, 2020. And then so we're working on figuring out what that grant will look like. And then there's an opportunity for another grant coming up in this year. So we're hoping to continue growing our membership. It's been a little challenging with COVID, but a lot of clubs have been having those challenges as well. So we are getting new members, and we're really glad to have people who are interested in the opportunities of Rotary. Youth exchange update. So as you all know, we don't have a student this year, but I know there's a lot of talk and kind of uncertainty with next year, but looking at students for next year, as far as I know, we don't have a student assigned. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. Well, we have, sorry, I'll pipe in really quick. We have the 2 outbounds that we were sponsoring from last year who are still hoping to go outbound. We were never assigned an inbound student due to COVID. And as of 7 a.m. this morning, Bill received an email from the RI president that they have officially put all youth exchange, short-term and long-term, on hold through at least July 1st of 2021. So we're not certain what that really means for next year yet. Like I said, we got the notification less than 12 hours ago. So more planning to come. But at this point, we are absolutely on hold until at least July of next year.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Disappointing, unfortunate news, but we want to be safe because that's the most important thing. We don't want any repeats of this last spring and kind of the messiness that that was. Disaster trailer. So for those of you who don't know, well, actually we should know, right? There was a presentation on the disaster trailer at Shark Tank last year or last spring. It feels like last year, but it's still 2020. We had a presentation on Shark Tank from Nick and the group around the disaster trailer to kind of respond to disasters, shovels, chainsaws, mops, brooms, all those things in that trailer. So they didn't give up after Shark Tank. They went and they've talked to a bunch of different clubs and they're looking to do a grant and still get that project funded. So we've made a commitment to help support that project along with other clubs in the area. So more to come on that as we have updates. Look to Facebook for pictures and more info. We're having some discussions around board elections and bylaws. So as you know, every year we do elections, but we do elections in kind of a little bit different way from a lot of Rotary clubs. And some of our bylaws, it's been quite a while, many years since they've been updated. So we're looking at doing some updates with creating a little bit more options so we can be flexible, especially in these times of COVID. Things just aren't business as usual. So we want to make sure that we're in compliance with our bylaws and that our bylaws are up to date. So more to come. That'll be a club-wide vote once the board approves. So we're getting close on that. And then last but not least, am I going fast enough, Marissa?
Yeah, great.
So Paul Harris Fellow. So our club has quite a few points and we have members that also have points to give away. So one of the things that's cool about a Paul Harris points is for every dollar you give, you also get a point to give away. So one of the things that we've done, other clubs have done in the past, is to recognize community members, outstanding community members for the work that they're doing, for the donations they give. As Paul Harris Fellows, honorary Paul Harris Fellows. They don't have to be Rotarians. But it's something to say, hey, we see you in the community, we recognize you, and Rotary thinks the work you're doing is important. So it's a very nice thing to do, and we want to explore that. So if anybody has thoughts on members of the community who you think deserve a Paul Harris Fellow from the Rotary Club of Lacrosse After Hours, definitely reach out to Marissa, reach out to me, or anybody on the board. We'd be happy to talk about it because there's plenty of good being done, even in these challenging times. And we want, it's even harder when we're all online, but we'd like to recognize some of those people. So
Josh, can you do a 30-second what's a Paul Harris Fellow recap?
Sure. Yep. So a Paul Harris Fellow, a traditional Paul Harris Fellow is someone who's given $1,000 or more to our foundation. So you basically get a point for every dollar you give. So so you can have a Paul Harris Fellow plus, Paul Harris Fellow is the first $1,000 and then a +1 you get after $2,000. It's a way to recognize not only the time and talent that you give to our foundation, but also kind of the treasure and, the dollars that you give. So, but this recognition of community members would be recognizing them for their time and talent in particular. So does that help?
Thank you. Yep.
Cool. Thanks for asking, Liz. All right. Anything else, Marissa? Otherwise.
No, that was great. Thank you, Josh. As always, our board minutes go out so you can read in detail everything that goes on behind the scenes, but wanted to high level some of the key things that have been going on the last couple months. So we all know that the theme of Rotary this year is Rotary opens opportunities. And I want to share a bit more about an opportunity that Rotary has given me and invite all of you to join me at the Rotary International Convention in Taipei, Taiwan, next June. So I'm going to go through this real quick, but I actually attended 2 Rotary International conventions before I was a Rotarian. And it was at the second one where I would say I drank the Kool-Aid. We all know that when you get hooked in Rotary, it's you drink the Kool-Aid, and that's what really got me like, I need to join this organization. So the first convention I attended was in Bangkok in 2012. It's a great opportunity to visit other parts of the world and use the convention as your landing site. So I went with my dad. We started in Hong Kong, and then we went to the convention in Bangkok. You can see in the bottom left corner, that's Jennifer Jones. So the opportunity, there I am with the future president of Rotary International. I love the picture next to that. This person next to me is Jane McGinty. Many of you know Jack and Leanne Hasse. Well, this is her daughter, Jane. And I didn't know Jane prior to going to Bangkok, or at least I didn't remember Jane. Turns out we both played back in the day at downtown Rotary's Christmas program when we were little, but I didn't remember her. Well, at this time in 2012, I was living in Minneapolis and Jane was living in Chanhassen, a suburb of Minneapolis. And for the next couple days when I went sightseeing, it was because Jane and her husband, Chris, invited me. I remember sitting in the auditorium of, I think there was 3,000 people. And my dad was like, oh my gosh, I think that's Jane McGinty. Sitting right in front of us was Jack and Leanne Hasse's daughter. And since then, I consider her a good friend. We continued our friendship when we got back to the States, and I would go out swimming at their pool and know their kids well. And so that is an opportunity that that trip gave me. From there, we went on to Malaysia and to Singapore. And then in 2014, I traveled with my parents down to the Sydney, Australia convention. We first went to New Zealand, best place in the world. If I ever go missing, I'm in Queensland, New Zealand, because it's the prettiest, I love it there. But as you can see here in the upper left corner, there's Mr. Bill Pritchard. I remember being at, I think it was like the opening cocktail hour for District 6250. And there was Bill. He had just, I think Bill, you had just come from your voyage in the Australian outback where you were by yourself for 2 weeks or something like that. Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
And so yeah, this was 6 years ago in Sydney, and met some great people. This couple in the bottom left were from Italy, and you just meet amazing people. When you go to these conventions, there's 40, 50, 60,000 Rotarians. So you feel automatically safe and at home because anywhere you look, there's a Rotarian that becomes an instant friend. So that was the Sydney convention. And then last summer, we traveled, we started in Amsterdam, and then we went to Prague. And this picture makes me laugh too, because we're on a tour. My mom and dad and I are walking around Prague on a tour and ran into Stephanie Frazee, who is a Rotarian of the Valley View Club. Super small world. So that was in Prague, had dinner with her and some other lacrosse people that evening. And then we went on to Hamburg, Germany. This picture next to that is of Bill Boyd and his wife. He's a former Rotary International president who I actually met in Bangkok, and I was not a Rotarian. And so when I saw him last summer, I said, Bill, I don't know if you remember me, and he claims he did. Well, I don't know about that. And I said, and I'm happy to tell you that I'm now a Rotarian and I am going to be president of my club this next year. So with that, I just want you to know that it's a great opportunity. I know that Bill and Josh and I are all signed up to go to Taipei. We'd love if anybody else wanted to join. And I bring this up because registration, I think, goes up after the end of December. So and if for some reason it gets canceled, you would get reimbursed that money. But Bill, you've been to several conventions. Is there anything that you wanted to add as well?
I couldn't add anything more than you just said. That was great. That was great. It is incredible. I hope it'd be so cool to have a few more come. We would roll that city if we had more after hours people there. We would roll it. It'd be fantastic. So come join the fun.
All right, so still have some announcements to cover, so we'll move right forward. If you have any questions, want to reach out, Bill is a great resource. I'm happy to answer whatever I can answer. We all have, I think, at least our hotel booked, but the more the merrier. So with that, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all of you that rang the bells for Salvation Army last week. I hope you all had a good and healthy, safe time doing so. I enjoyed all the pictures that came through, especially that one of Mango. I'm sure he was the VIP all-star for the night. With that, the virtual social for November is Let's Give Thanks. And I can tell you firsthand that local businesses are suffering, and it's going to be a really tough winter. So let's get out and support the local businesses, whether it's ordering takeout, whether it's buying a gift card or whatever it might be. Please support local, write them a note of thanks, whether it's on the receipt or even in a thank you card, and then post your picture on our private Facebook page. We have a couple save the dates, lots of things coming up. Is Amy on? Amy?
Yeah, I am.
Would you share about the Good Fight Van dedication?
Yep. Next week, December 1st at 4 o'clock, we're going to meet at the Good Fight downtown. I think it's J Street, and basically cut the ribbon for the van. I don't know what to call it. And the news station will also join us for a story. And we're hoping some kids from the Good Fight will show up also, but it is their first day back from break. So hopefully just to have a good time and some happy moments.
And you can see the van there with our logo on it. So I'm excited to officially see it driving around town. Good public image for our club. Ashley, Ugly Sweater 5K.
So it's coming up really soon, in like a week and a half, I think. I messed up earlier with the dates. So it's the first weekend of December. We are lighting the trails from Myrick Park down to Riverside Park. It will be a virtual race, so it'll run Wednesday, December 2nd, until Sunday or Saturday, December 12th, I think it is. Registration's open. We are a little slow in registration, so if you guys can help share the event on Facebook, that would be really helpful. We also need volunteers. So you get a free Ugly Sweater t-shirt, which Marissa and I are both big fans of. So make sure that you sign up to volunteer. If you can do it by tomorrow at noon. Oh my gosh, this doesn't sound right. That would be great. I need to make the t-shirt orders by then. So to make sure you get your size, if you can sign up, that would be best. And there is a link to get your t-shirt size in, or just email me. So I think that's all. Sorry.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, everybody can go and post. Like, I am not a Facebook poster, so I'm the first to admit, but we are all influencers, and if we all share it, you never know if you're going to get 1 or 2 people to sign up. That's an extra $15 that help us to give back to the community. So please go and share those posts. We'd really appreciate it. Stephanie, would you want to share about the upcoming Rotary Lights, which is different than our Ugly Sweater? Ugly Sweater's part of Rotary Lights, but this will be actually volunteering in the park.
Yeah, so I am speaking on behalf of my sister, Caitlin. So on December 13th, we're covering some shifts at Rotary Lights, and apparently there are still some spots open from 7 to 10, the second shift. And that involves various things like, I don't actually know, but helping collect food and directing people around and such. So 7 to 10 p.m. There's going to be some pretty cool volunteers at that time on December 13th.
Thanks, Stephanie. Laura, I'm going to put you on the spot to share about Dave Knutson Trivia Night.
Sure. So we are having a Dave Knutson Trivia Night, really descriptive night of our social. So this is on the anniversary of Dave's passing. So we thought what a better way to remember Dave than to hold a trivia night in his honor. Some of his family members will be joining us. They're going to be claiming one of the virtual teams. And Lucas is working diligently to come up with great questions. His aunt actually just forwarded some Dave trivia. So we actually will be able to intertwine trivia about Dave. So think back on different stories, different interactions you had with Dave. It should be a fun night. And I saw in an invite that we're encouraged to wear ugly sweaters. If you're comfortable coming in person, we do have the side room at Big Al's open, subject to change depending on COVID protocols, of course. Lucas and I are trying to figure out if I'll be the one asking the questions from the in-person event or if Lucas will be doing it from the virtual side. So we'll get that all figured out and we'll be ready to go on December 16th.
Thanks, Laura. And then there is another virtual social coming. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be like 25 days of Christmas, basically a scavenger hunt that you can do with your family. So more to come on that. All right. Last one, I believe, is Emily. Is Emily on?
Which one?
Emily Nolte?
Yes, I'm on.
Do you want to share about the upcoming Rotary Leadership Series?
Yeah, so the next Rotary Leadership Series is Thursday, December 10th at 7 a.m. I know it's kind of early, but it is, try to make it early so it's before everybody's work day. But the next speaker is Dr. Jeff Thompson. So I hope to see everybody there.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, any other announcements before we get on to our official program for the evening? We will have time at the end too, so. All right, well with that, let's see, from its origins as a Rotary Club's Y2K project to a 2-time Nobel Peace Prize nominated global disaster relief charity, ShelterBox has responded to over 300 disasters in 100 countries, providing shelter and more to over 1.6 million people. Even during this global pandemic, ShelterBox continues to respond to serve families displaced by conflict or disaster. A member of the Rotary Club of El Dorado Hills, California since 2004, Bill Tobin began as a volunteer for ShelterBox after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. Ironically, I had a classmate who was a year younger than me at Central, Ben Larson, who was doing missionary work in Haiti at that time and was killed. Since then, Bill has shared the ShelterBox story to thousands of Rotarians and helped lead the team of USA ambassadors in raising over $1.4 million for ShelterBox in 2017. For his volunteer efforts with ShelterBox USA, he has received the United States Presidential Volunteer Service Award 7 times. Please give a warm, raw welcome to our new friend and Rotarian, Mr. Bill Tobin.
Thank you, Marissa. That was a nice introduction. You did a very good job. I don't think I sent much of that information to you at all. You did a little research and everything. I love that. And DG Bill, good to see you. I think we talked a little bit in San Diego. Boy, what a long time ago that seems, doesn't it? My goodness, how the world has changed. And yet the world hasn't changed, not for ShelterBox. Disasters haven't stopped and war hasn't stopped. And so we're still doing what we're doing. And I'm going to share that with you tonight. So, I just saw a flash on your screen, Marissa. So hopefully you're seeing my screen now. Oh, great. Thank you. Well, it was 10 families a year that was the original goal. That's what the Helston Lizard Club in Cornwall, England wanted to provide, a family tent and some other household items to keep them sheltered and warm and comfortable after a disaster away. That was it, 10 families a year, each and every year. It was going to be a organization that they were going to create called ShelterBox. And lo and behold, other clubs found out about it. Other clubs wanted to participate in it. You know how these good Rotary ideas are. And before they even helped one family, they had the funding to help over 100 families. And they did that in 2001 in India, in Gujarat, after an earthquake and landslide displaced people. So it just kept growing and growing and growing, with more and more clubs learning about ShelterBox after the Boxing Day tsunami in Southeast Asia in 2004, through Haiti in 2010. And it was just a Rotary Club's project. It wasn't a Rotary project. And so Rotary took note and said, hey, we need to be partners in this. We have so much to offer each other, from a global network, which ShelterBox was already tapping into from our responses around the world, to helping us with supply chain issues. And in return, where we work in the world, there's no safety nets like there is in the US. We have 300,000 Rotarians here. We're doing a response in Sudan right now for flooding, 41 million people in the country, 21 Rotarians. That's it. So we are really Rotary's arm in the areas of the world after disaster strike where there isn't the safety net that we are so fortunate to have here in the United States. So the center of gravity in our work is the tent, a shelter. It's really where it all begins. We have several different types of tents that we could distribute now. Some like the Flex 3 there with a wood burning stove inside of it. Yeah, it would withstand Wisconsin winters. I wouldn't want to live in a Wisconsin winter, but it would keep me alive, and that's the important thing. We've also branched out in the last 7 or 8 years with tarpaulin-based shelter. This not only can create a larger living space than a tent can, it's also a living space that could be adapted. It's also material that could be repurposed if you're able to reconstruct your house. And in addition, as you see here, it could be used as roofs and walls for repair work. And then the additional tools that would come in a shelter kit, they've just proven to be invaluable, allowing families to start farming again, allowing people to go find work for labor work, to pool the resources of tools in the community to do some of the communal building reconstruction that has to be done after disaster strikes. Now, the ShelterBox itself will hold the tent and all the other gear you see here. In the previous picture, you saw slightly smaller boxes. Those will be distributed when a family gets a shelter kit, which is the tarp-based solutions. So here you have solar lights and water filters, blankets and ground cover, mosquito nets. I don't think much about every day, like rope and baling wire, but boy, when you need it, it's there for you. And it's interesting in some areas where we have distributed the rope. One of the first things families do is they cut about 20 feet off that rope and they de-strand it. This is nylon braided rope. It's strong rope. They'll take those strands and either replace or repair fishing nets so they can get back to feeding their families from the ocean. So we now have got over 325 responses. I think we're real close to 350. We've helped 1.6 million people around the world, but the need is still just incredible around the world. Natural disasters are displacing about 25 million people a year. That, given the world's population and counting up every disaster everywhere from the forest fires in California to flooding in the Mississippi Valley to disasters in countries we'll never even read about in the news, 25 million people out of this population of the world that's about normal. But conflict, now we know in Rotary, we're all about peace, and conflict is solvable. And it's also right now the largest driver of displacement around the world with nearly 80 million people. That's a total of displaced people greater than the displacements through World War I and World War II combined. So we're really busy in the world right now. In fact, I don't think we could take on another disaster. It's really a unique situation. We have been able to alter our aid packages We're working right now in the Philippines, for example. We have warehouses in the Philippines. So we were able to have that gear en route. In fact, I've got a picture in just a few slides here to show you that gear en route within a matter of a week. Other areas, it's taken quite some time to get gear into Ethiopia right now, for example, or Burkina Faso, 2 countries where we're seeing an incredible amount of conflict and violence increasing. We had a couple of twin hurricanes in Central America recently with Eta and Iota. And so our gear, which is in a warehouse in Panama, is being directed to Honduras to do relief work there. Right now, we're so busy and we have seen a lot of funding dry up because Rotary clubs aren't able to support us like they are in years where we're able to do 2 or 3 fundraisers through the year. Our Philippines warehouse and our Panama warehouse after these current deployments will be virtually empty. So we really need to get the funding available around the world to get supplies into these countries so that we're better prepared for the next disaster. See, the nature of disaster relief is the funding seems to come after the disaster. It's reactive, but the way to really do disaster relief properly is to be proactive. And so for us, that means funding things before they happen. And that's one of the techniques we use here at ShelterBox to make sure we reach these families and countries like Syria, where there is no Rotary. So right now during COVID-19, everything's different. Obviously, we're experiencing that this very second. Yet everything for us is the same because there's always chaos in disaster. Infrastructures don't work anymore. Roads are gone. The phone lines could be down. Electricity, if it even existed in the first place, might not be back for a while. So it's just another layer. COVID-19 is just another layer of things we have to work through to find these families. And what's so important about finding them? Why would a refugee or someone in an evacuation shelter be any more at risk than you and I? It really boils down to population density. In New York City, most densely populated city in the United States at nearly 28,000 people per square mile. But the Kaputolong refugee camp in southern Bangladesh, a home to nearly 1 million Rohingya refugees, is 120,000 people per square mile. And this is what it looks like. This is the camp. There's no roads. There's no plumbing. There's no running water. There is no infrastructure. These Rohingya refugees, you see the importance of tarps here, for one, but there's just no testing, very limited medical resources. And when curves hit areas like a refugee camp or an evacuation center, you could just look at this picture and see COVID go right across this room in a matter of hours. So shelter, getting families away from one another. I know it doesn't sound nice, but it's necessary right now. And if you think about it, it's exactly what we're doing on this phone call. Marissa, you've got one of those tents, and Josh, you've got a tent there. Bill, DG Bill, I'll give you a nice tent, but they're all the same. And think about this, we're all in a tent right now. When you boil it down, and sheltering apart from one another is what's preventing the spread of this disease. It's the only surefire thing is staying away from one another. So that's why it's so important that we're doing what we're doing. And it's not unrecognized or unacknowledged by Rotary. John Hugo, who I'm sure Marissa's ran across him at conventions. I sure have. What a nice down-to-earth guy. And I'm sure, Marissa, you'll agree with me when I say every top-level Rotarian I've ever met, people don't feel intimidated by them. Just go up and start talking. They're great people. They really, truly are. John Hugo, no exemption from that. He says ShelterBox has this vital role to play right now, and we sure are fulfilling that duty. In the Philippines, we've been to 5 responses since March, one being an expansion of a hospital on the island of Cebu, overrun with COVID-19 patients. They needed some clean area, so we were able to put up some temporary structures and allow them to have now 100 more patients per day in non-COVID-19 scenarios. Volcanic eruptions. A lot of times we hear about volcanoes, and what displaces people is lava flow. Well, the Taal, T-A-A-L volcano in the Philippines wasn't lava flow. It was bowling ball sized rocks that were getting ejected from the volcano and literally going through what are already, thatched style roofs or corrugated tin roofs. People evacuated by and large before it happened. So it did avert a major disaster in the sense of human loss of life, but they did lose their homes. So this is the Rotary Club of Batangas Midwest, along with some of our response team members during their response that was done a few months ago here during COVID-19. This used to be kind of a unique picture, but we're so used to this picture now. But yeah, we're doing social distancing. Normally this would be a long line of people. You wouldn't know who was who. Everyone would have their little voucher, but we have adapted here, obviously. Also, we've modified our training. In Rotary, how we love our group training, from club table meetings to, whole auditoriums full of people. We love the group setting. Having to do individual self-paced learning when you're learning how to use tarpaulin could be a little intimidating, but we do have people at the end answering all the questions that these families are learning as they go. So just, any other day in the Philippines, as they have some of the most unique 2- and 3-wheeled vehicles I've ever seen. But we are reaching these families. And this is Jenny, and everything you see on the roof of her house here, she will have for quite some time, displaced due to the storms that have been hitting the region. And now I love it. Folks consider these homes. They don't say I'm living in a tent or I'm living under a tarp. They're living in their home. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Here's a brand new picture. This literally Typhoon Goni and several other named storms, all along the same basic trajectory. We are focusing in the municipalities of Baras and Bato, up in the Catanduanes region and in the Camarines Sur region, which, if you don't know the Philippines, that's a little south of Manila, all that area. And all that, that's coming straight from our warehouse in the Philippines. That's literally right now on the island of Cebu getting loaded onto a Navy ship. So we have a lot of Rotary in the Philippines, and it's really our crown jewel. Such great teamwork all throughout the Philippine Rotarians and our teams together. It's magnificent. Looking at the Lake Chad Basin, it's quite a different story. In Chad and Nigeria's got the most Rotarians. Chad and Cameroon, Niger, and Cameroon's got like 300 Rotarians. So again, this is an area of the world that is seeing an increase in violence that's really going unnoticed around the world. Unfortunately, the Lake Chad Basin, Boko Haram has displaced almost 2.5 million people. But on top of that, you've got an ecological disaster. I'm not here to debate climate change, but I could show you a couple comparative pictures from the mid-70s to basically the most recent Google Maps image I could find of Lake Chad. What's happened here is a prolonged drought. And now that drought has finished, what happened in the 20 plus years of that drought is that the low-lying areas are filling with sand. So the lake will never be what it once was, which was the 6th largest lake on the continent of Africa. So you've got terrorism, you've got water issues, you've got COVID-19. That's a recipe for disaster. We have operated and helped outfit several camps in all 4 countries. One of the largest is Minawao. We've been there since 2015. We're the only supplier of tented shelter to 70,000 people. And they do have some semi-permanent housing, but it's mud brick, and in the rainy seasons, they more or less disintegrate. It's such a large camp. You can see it from space. Again, all these just taken from Google Maps. You can type in Minawao on Google and see the same thing I just showed you, except I added the little red circle. This is what it's looking like now. Again, one family at a time, making sure that people have what they need, not only the items, but the knowledge. A lot of these families have never heard of this pandemic, and because of the amount of aid that comes in and out of those areas, it's there. And so if it's there and you don't know about it, I can't even imagine what that would be like, not knowing why everyone was dying around us, right? Fan, and she's 30 years old. She lives from Nigeria. She has 3 kids of her own. She takes care of 8 in total. The other 5 are orphaned. She was displaced twice in Nigeria. The first time her husband lost his leg. The second time he knew he couldn't keep up. So he basically told them to leave him behind and to get to Minnow, by name, Minnow. Now, I know the branding on the Rotary logo in the background is not the most current branding, but we do have stock still with the old branding in this region. That fan now has a new tent she got this summer. And I can't imagine someone being told to go to Minnow, a refugee camp. And then on top of that, you've got help from Rotary in an area of the world through ShelterBox, in an area of the world where there's very little Rotarians. It makes a huge difference. Fan is adjusting to camp life. It's not an easy life by any stretch. You do find work. A lot of the refugee workers in refugee camps are refugees themselves. She's got such a beautiful smile. I hope she has a great future ahead of her. It's not going to be an easy one. We don't get funding through the Rotary Foundation. It's kind of hard to do when you don't know where you're going to be. But there is a long-term project here, and we're working with the UN Shelter Cluster. We're a part of that. And there's a global grant in the works. So there's the address for that. Louis Turpin, past district governor up in New York. Real quick, because I'm sure I'm going over my allotted time, but in Syria, there is no Rotary. There hasn't been since the mid-1960s. And often right now, the only proof that Rotary even exists is through ShelterBox's work in Syria. We've adapted our work. We're doing soap and wash basins. Social distancing looks a little bit different there than it does in Cameroon. The one kid in the yellow with the box over his head, that we aren't promoting those for masks, but that's a good sign, because when a kid's able to goof off, it can't all be lost at that point. And these children in this picture have known nothing but war their entire lives. Our aid doesn't always come in the green box, and that's fine. The families are more important than the packaging. This is What a beautiful family. She does have a husband. He's just not in the picture here. Everything in this picture, from the tent to the mattress underneath them, is part of our winter aid package in Syria. Syria doesn't get Wisconsin cold, but it gets below freezing. And there were 36 documented cases of children in Idlib freezing to death last winter. And we can't allow that to happen. This is a picture from last week. I can't tell you specifically where in Syria this is, but this is this year's winter aid package. There are the mattresses I just showed you stacked up there on the right in the packaging. We also are including children's warm coats, toddler onesies, hats, scarves, and gloves for children, as well as some warm gear for adults there as well. Please don't do a coat drive for us. They don't allow used coats, and the cost of getting a coat from here to there wouldn't be worth it unless you maybe have 100,000 coats or so. Maybe we can work something out. But unfortunately, we can't accept clothing. We would accept the Nobel Peace Prize, however. We have not won one. We were notified 2 years in a row that we were nominated. Ironically, 1 year the winner was the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, who is currently dropping bombs on his own people. So on that, well, that's not a great note to end on, but I will say thank you so much for your time today. And I really hope to see support from, I love after hours clubs. I think all Rotary clubs should be like after hours. It's a much better spin on a meeting. So thanks so much. Marissa, back to you.
Thank you so much, Bill. I'll open it up. Does anybody have any questions that you want to ask Bill?
No, I think it's just a really cool presentation. It was cool to see what comes in the box and kind of a better picture of kind of the good you guys are doing. So thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
You know, it was.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
DG Bill here. I got a chance to meet Bill in San Diego, and I remember though my real movement was in Kansas City. I went to Kansas City to a zone event, and there was the ShelterBox people kind of tucked behind the escalator.
That was me.
and we had a good conversation. And I mean, how can you not be moved by the work you see them do? And that's why I felt compelled to to make our club involved in this. And so, we are a bronze level or whatever that first level is, Bill, in the plan. And I plan to help us get there again. And I guess I would encourage all of you, if any of you have been moved by Bill's presentation tonight, would like to consider joining me and joining us in bucking up to maybe put a little more toward Bill and all the great. I was honored the other night to be on I'm going to call it a telethon, Bill. I don't know what we were going to call it, where they raised over $250,000 in an hour, I think, Bill. Wasn't it an hour? And it was, but it was live, and it was, wow. I mean, wow is all I can say.
It was really incredible, and you could actually still watch that. I encourage you to, everyone, because we do talk with our partners and the people we help in Syria. We talk with our partners and the people we help in the Philippines, in Vanuatu, which you probably never heard of unless you watch Survivor, because they've always liked going there for that series. There still is no COVID cases in Vanuatu. So that was really our very first, because it happened right on the onset of everything. It was our very first response where we completely did it entirely remote. We didn't send a single person anywhere. We just arranged all the shipping, in-country help, which is actually a group called HELP. There's only 2 Rotary clubs in that country, and it's several dozen, if not hundreds, of islands, so it's not easy to get around. And I think there's a total of 36 Rotarians. So again, this is where we really shine, is being Rotary's disaster relief arm in areas where there just isn't Rotary or the help.
And Bill, let me say one last thing in 10 seconds here. This last 2 weeks ago, I was on a all-week-long conference with all of the districts in West Africa. So they were all talking about the different projects they were doing. It was a week-long thing, 4 hours a day, project after project. Well, they knew that many of the people who were on the call were from the Western Hemisphere. And so during one of the sessions, they had a 15-minute break where they said what they were thankful for. Not that they celebrate Thanksgiving, but what they were thankful for. And more than once, ShelterBox was mentioned. And I think that was really cool. I wanted to make sure tonight you heard that they were thankful for you. This is West Africa in some pretty tough spots. So thank you so much for the good work you're doing. Laura, I'm not taking your thunder, I promise. But thank you so much for the good work you do.
Thank you, Bill. That warmed my heart to hear that.
So I'll just jump in after Bill. On behalf of the club, we want to thank you for taking time and speaking to us tonight. I think some of us knew a little bit about ShelterBox, but you definitely opened our eyes to the true difference it's really making across the world. I had no idea that it was in over 100 countries, and helping 1.6 million plus people is just crazy. And I think, in the coming years, as you mentioned, with climate change and the changes in storms and natural disasters that we're already seeing, I think you guys are just going to unfortunately have to grow, but to the benefit of all of those who are going to be affected. So on behalf of our club, thank you so much for taking out time tonight. We really appreciated you spending a couple minutes with us tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, it'd be great. I'd love to lose my job because there was no more work to do. I'd love that, but I don't think we're going to reach that point. Not in my retirement years.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Laura and Bill, for your kind words. All right, so it's that moment everybody has been waiting for. Who drew turkey? Who drew their hand turkeys? All right, let's see them. Wait, I gotta turn my.
That looks great, Marissa.
It doesn't work with the virtual background. Wow, I'm impressed, Steph. That's pretty good. Madeline, I like it. Caitlin, nice.
Double click.
Okay, raise your hand if you don't have an 8x11 piece of paper at your house.
Wow.
And who hasn't been to the office recently to steal it from the work computer? I mean, borrow it. I don't steal from work. That's your financial statement, Madeline?
Yeah, mine is September's financial statement.
Nice. Hey, whatever it takes.
Well, thank you guys. participated, I want you to hang them on your fridges so that you can be all nice and proud of your artwork. Just looking at some of the comments or the words that people are thankful for, and we'll put this into a word cloud, but I see, let's see, health, autonomy and opportunity, new Rotary friends, Rotarians and kind people, Rotary connections, connections and friendship, Aaron Rogers, health and independence, health, family, friends. So a lot to be grateful for this Thanksgiving week. So just a final recap of some of the upcoming things, because there's a lot going on. Sign up to volunteer, sign up to run, walk the ugly sweater. Make sure you get your volunteer sign up done by tomorrow so you can get a t-shirt. And please promote it on social media. Again, the Good Fight Van dedication is next week at 4 o'clock on the 1st. If anybody is able to stop by, please bring your masks. We'll be outside and socially distanced. The next meeting is going to be, I don't think Mandy or Brady are on, but Gunderson is doing an All of Us research program. And so they will be at our next meeting to present on that. Not Brady or Mandy, but all of us research people. Again, Dave Knutson Trivia Night is on December 16th. So get your teams together, whether you want to come in person or do it virtually. Those of you that participated in Lucas's first trivia this summer, it was a great time. So I know it will be again. Here's your invitation to stay on after if you want to stay on for a few minutes and chat. And with that, we will conclude with the 5-way test unless anybody has anything else they thought of that they want to share.
Nope,
If
good being, Marissa.
not, did I hear anything? No? Thank you again, Bill, for joining us. And if everybody can unmute themselves and we will say the 5-way test. Is it the truth?
Truth.
Is it
fair to all
concerned?
Will it
build better
friendships?
friendships?
Will it be
Will it be beneficial to
all
all concerned? Will it be fun?
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bill, nice job.
Thank you.